Hello everybody, after the confusion of last week we are on week 4 spellings until somebody emails to tell me we've already done that. We haven't done that. So I will read out the word and the example. You just need to write down the spelling and the definition, and you can pause or go back at any stage if you need to. You need to send me your prep for week 4 and mark your spellings and definitions for week 4, and I will mark the revision of previous weeks. Okay, off. Oh, look at that picture. That's nice, isn't it? Wouldn't you just like to walk across that right now? Put your blanket out on that beach and spend the day there. Maybe soon, hopefully. Number 1, heroism. Tennyson commemorates the soldiers' heroism. The soldiers showed great heroism in defeating, in this poem, the Russians. The examples are for poems we haven't really read yet, sorry. Number 2, holistic. Holistic. Blake presents a holistic view on Georgian society. Holistic. Number 3, morality. Both Hughes and Owen's poems question the morality of war. Sorry, I keep looking down because that's where I'm reading off the spelling sheet. Moral integrity, number 4. Moral integrity. The reader questions the moral integrity of those who send men to die this way. Number 5, predominantly. Predominantly. The language of the poem is predominantly demotic. Last week the weather was predominantly awful. This week it will be predominantly sunny, according to the forecast. Number 6, retrospective. Retrospective. Wordsworth's poem is a retrospective account of his youth. You are too young to be retrospective, and I don't want a retrospective look at my life because that would just be depressing. Next, 7, pervade. A sense of futility pervades exposure. Pervade. I'm trying to think of another example to help you. When the boat landed, the beach was pervaded with tourists. Atheism. Shelley's atheism is another example of his refusal to conform. Atheism. You better get this right, or otherwise I'll let Mr. Dixon know. Number 9, radical. Radical. The radical Blake criticises the church that turns its back on poverty. Sometimes terrorists are described as people with radical views. And number 10, hubris. We'll just go with hubris. Hubris. The Duke's hubris is presented throughout the monologue. Macbeth was described as his hubris led to his downfall, and definitely in Ozymandias. Ozymandias shows great hubris. Not a good thing. Right, from previous weeks then, please. Disempower. Disempower. The young Wordsworth aura at seeing the huge peak disempowers him. Arthur Burling tries to disempower the workers when he sacks Eva. Next, absolute monarchy. Ozymandias, King of Kings, is depicted as an absolute monarch, exercising absolute control over his people. Macbeth was an absolute monarch until he was... Next, mortality. Mortality. The reference to burial connotes man's mortality. In Ozymandias, whilst nature is permanent, Ozymandias suffers mortality. Moving on to permanence. The next one is impermanence. Impermanence. The lone and level sands covering the ruins of the once great works are a reminder of man's impermanence. Thankfully, last week's storms were impermanent, and now we're going to get some sunny weather. Typical English, talk about the weather all the time. Next, revolution. The blood on the palace walls may allude to the French Revolution of 1789. Shelley was influenced by the French Revolution of 1789. Next, liberty. Liberty. Shelley believed in liberty and that people should be free to live the life they wanted, as did the rest of the Romantic poets. Next, Romanticism. Romanticism. What was the Romantic movement about? I've half given you the answer there, haven't I? Romanticism. The movement was prevalent throughout Europe and at its height between 1800 and 1850. Next, transience. Transience. Shelley's sonnet highlights the transience of human power. The statue of Ozymandias was transient, as was Ozymandias' power. Next is brevity. Shelley's poem presents the brevity of human power. Right, a couple from previous terms. Can you tell me spell and tell me what authorial intent is? It is the authorial intent of Priestley to make Arthur Burling seem ridiculous and cruel. And a few techniques, please. So we just find the book. So 4 techniques. See if you can remember what these are. Simile. Simile. What's a simile, please? Metaphor. Oh, sorry, simile. The example. Fishing boat strung out like bunting. Metaphor. Can you spell and define a metaphor, please? The gelled blackthorns of your hair. What is an extended metaphor, please? An extended metaphor. Winds that, here's an example, winds that nivers, dawn massing in the east, her melancholy army attacks once more. And finally, for this week, can you spell and remember what personification is, please? Personification. The dark branches of the trees twisted as they reached out to grasp me. Personification. That's it for this week. You mark the week 4 ones, I mark the revision ones. I'll get back to you on that. Have a lovely week. Not too long to go till the end of term, and you might not believe this, but I'm looking forward to seeing you all in September. Seriously, I am. Bye. I say bye, but I can never find the pause button because of the silly cursor.